Ethan Caldwell walked through the forest as the sun began to rise. The air was cold and fresh. Birds sang in the trees around him. He carried a small backpack with water and some tools. Today was an important day. After 3 years of tracking a dangerous mountain lion, he was going to check if his trap had worked. Ethan was a wildlife researcher. He lived alone in a small cabin deep in the Montana forest. The local farms had lost many animals to a mountain lion. Ethan wanted to catch it, put a tracking collar on it, and move it far away where it wouldn't hurt farm animals. His trap was different from most. It didn't hurt animals. It was a large metal cage with a special door that closed when something went inside. He had put meat inside to attract the mountain lion. As Ethan got closer to the trap, he slowed down and moved quietly. Mountain lions were dangerous when scared. He didn't want to frighten it. The trap was in a small clearing ahead. Ethan could see that the door was closed. He had caught something. Ethan stepped into the clearing and froze. What was in his trap was not a mountain lion. It was not any animal he had ever seen. It was a woman, but she was not a normal woman. Her skin was purple and seemed to glow slightly. Her eyes were silver and very large. Strange marks on her skin glowed under her. Torn clothes. The woman saw Ethan and pushed herself against the back of the cage. She was shaking with fear. She made sounds that Ethan had never heard before. The sounds were beautiful, like music, but he couldn't understand any words. "I won't hurt you," Ethan said softly. He showed his empty hands to prove he had no weapons. The woman just pressed herself further into the corner of the cage. Ethan noticed a small device on her wrist. It looked broken. He wondered if it was some kind of translator. He slowly walked to the cage door, thinking he should let her out. The woman made a high sound of fear and covered her face. Ethan stopped. She was terrified of him. But why? He kneeled down to look less threatening. "My name is Ethan," he said, pointing to himself. "Ethan." He spoke slowly and clearly. The woman looked at him with her silver eyes. She was still afraid, but now she seemed curious too. Ethan picked up a stick and drew in the dirt. He drew a simple picture of himself opening the cage door. Then he drew the woman walking out. He looked at her and pointed to his drawing. The woman shook her head. She took the stick from him and drew her own picture. It showed a human eating another creature that looked like her. Ethan was shocked. She thought he was going to eat her. "No, no," he said quickly. He crossed out her drawing and made a new one. This time he drew himself giving food to her. He pretended to eat, then pointed to her. The woman still looked unsure. Ethan sighed and sat down on the ground. He would have, to be patient. It was clear she was not from Earth. She was an alien who had somehow ended up in his trap. After a long time of sitting quietly, Ethan opened his backpack. He took out a protein bar and ate half of it. Then he offered the other half to the alien woman. She didn't take it at first. Ethan left it near the cage and backed away. Slowly, the woman reached for the food. She smelled it carefully, then took a tiny bite. Her face showed surprise. Then she quickly ate the rest. Ethan smiled. It was a start. He pointed to himself again. "Ethan." The woman touched her chest. "Lyra," she said. Her voice was like bells ringing. "Lyra," Ethan repeated. "Nice to meet you." Lyra didn't smile, but she seemed less afraid. Ethan decided to try, opening the cage. He moved very slowly toward the door. Lyra watched him carefully but didn't try to move away this time. Ethan unlocked the door and stepped back. He opened it wide and waited. Lyra didn't move at first. Then, very carefully, she crawled to the door and looked out. She looked at Ethan, then at the forest around them. Suddenly, a loud noise came from the sky. It sounded like a helicopter. Lyra's face filled with fear again. She grabbed Ethan's arm and pointed up. Then she made motions like she was running, away. Ethan understood. Someone was looking for her and she was afraid of them. Without thinking too much, he made a decision. "Come with me," he said, taking her hand. "I'll help you." Together, they ran into the forest. away from the sound of the helicopter. Ethan led Lyra to his cabin by a path only he knew. As they ran, he wondered what he was getting himself into. But he knew one thing for sure: Lyra needed help, and he was going to give it to her. Behind them, the empty trap sat in the clearing, and in the sky, the helicopter came closer, searching for something that had fallen from the stars. Lyra sat at Ethan's wooden table. Her purple skin glowed softly in the dim cabin. She looked around with careful eyes, studying everything. Ethan moved slowly in the kitchen area. He didn't want to scare her again. Lyra was not just any alien. She was Commander Lyra N. Vex of the Arcturian Defense Fleet. No one on her home planet would believe where she was now. Her mission was simple: watch Earth and decide if humans were ready to meet aliens. Some leaders thought humans were too dangerous. Others thought humans could help fight their enemy, the Voidborn. Lyra's ship was hit by a solar flare, a burst of energy from the sun. It damaged her ship and sent her crashing to Earth. Parts of her ship were spread across miles of forest. She was looking for these parts when she fell into Ethan's trap. Now she was in his home, watching him cook something that smelled strange. Her stomach made a noise. She was hungry, but she had to be careful. Some Earth foods could make her sick. Ethan put a plate of scrambled eggs in front of her. He smiled and took a bite from his own plate to show it was safe. Lyra had a small device hidden in her sleeve. When Ethan wasn't looking, she scanned the food. The device showed the food was safe for her to eat. Lyra took a small bite. The taste was new but good. She ate quickly after that. Ethan looked happy to see her enjoying the food. After eating, Ethan brought out maps of the forest. He pointed to where they were, then made motions like he was asking a question. Lyra understood. He wanted to know where her ship crashed. Lyra was still not sure if she could trust him. Humans didn't know about aliens yet. If they found her technology, they might use it to make weapons. But Ethan had helped her when he could have turned her in. She pointed to several spots on the map. These were places where parts of her ship might be. Ethan nodded and started planning how they would find these parts. As they worked, they created their own way of talking. Ethan would point to something and say its name. Lyra would repeat it. Sometimes, she would draw pictures to explain what she needed. Water, Ethan said, holding up a glass. Water, Lyra repeated. Her voice made the word sound like music. Friend, Ethan said, pointing to himself, then to her. Lyra tilted her head, thinking. Then she smiled for the first time. Friend, she said. Just then, a small device on Lyra's belt made a noise. She grabbed it quickly. It was her communicator. It was partly fixed now, enough to catch radio signals. She heard a message that made her blood cold. All units converge on Sector 7. Foreign object detected. Possible biological specimens. Secure for immediate study. Use all necessary force. Lyra looked at Ethan with fear. She didn't know how to tell him what she heard. Human soldiers were coming. They would take her to a lab and study her. They might cut her open to see how she worked. Ethan saw her fear. He came closer and asked with his hands what was wrong. Lyra pointed to her communicator, then made her hands into the shape of a gun. She pointed outside, then to herself, and made a cutting motion across her body. Ethan's face changed. He understood. They're coming for you, he said. Military. Lyra nodded, surprised he understood so quickly. Ethan's face grew hard. They'll have to go through me first, he said. Even though Lyra didn't understand his words, his meaning was clear. He quickly started packing a bag with food, water, and tools. He gave Lyra some of his clothes to wear over her torn outfit. They would help her blend in if they saw people. As they prepared to leave, Lyra touched Ethan's arm. She wanted him to know that he didn't have to help her. This was dangerous. These were his people coming after her. Ethan just smiled and patted her hand. Then he picked up his bag and opened the door, checking if it was safe to leave. Lyra followed him into the forest. The sun was starting to set, making long shadows between the trees. They moved quickly, but quietly. In the distance, They heard vehicles and voices. The human military was getting closer. Lyra felt a mix of fear and something new, hope. On her planet, they said humans were violent and selfish, but Ethan was risking everything to help her. Maybe, Lyra thought, the reports about humans were wrong. Maybe there was more to learn about Earth before making any decisions. And maybe, just maybe, she had found the perfect first contact in this quiet human who had caught her in his trap. As night fell, Ethan led her deeper into the forest, away from the searching lights and loud voices. Tomorrow they would look for her ship parts. Tonight, they just needed to stay hidden and stay safe. Lyra looked up at the stars. Somewhere up there, her people were waiting for her report. What would she tell them about humans now? Special Agent Olivia Weiss stepped out of the black helicopter. The wind blew her short brown hair across her face. She pushed it back and looked around at the forest. Somewhere in these trees was something that fell from space. Her job was to find it. Olivia worked for a secret part of the government that looked for aliens. Most people didn't know this group existed. She had 12 agents with her, all carrying special equipment to find alien technology. Set up a circle around the area, she told her team. Nothing gets in or out without us knowing. The agents moved quickly, setting up their gear and starting to search the forest. Olivia looked at a small screen in her hand. It showed where the object had crashed, but the screen also showed that pieces were spread over many miles. This would not be easy. "Ma'am," called one of her agents, "you should see this." Olivia walked over to him. He was standing by a metal cage in a small clearing. The door was open. "Someone was here," she said, looking at footprints in the dirt. 2 people, one with normal boots. She pointed to clear boot prints. And one. She stopped, looking at the other prints. They were not like any shoe she had seen. They were too narrow with strange marks. "Not human?" the agent asked quietly. "Get samples of both prints," Olivia ordered. "And check that trap. I want to know who set it and why." While her team worked, Olivia walked around the clearing. Something had happened here. Someone had met an alien, and instead of calling the government, they had helped it escape. This made her job much harder. Far away, Ethan and Lyra were climbing a steep hill. Ethan knew these woods better than anyone. He was leading Lyra on paths that didn't look like paths. They wouldn't leave easy tracks to follow. "We need to find your ship parts," Ethan said, even though Lyra couldn't understand all his words. He pointed to the map they had marked earlier. Lyra nodded. She pointed to a spot on the map that was closest to them. They would go there first. As they walked, Ethan taught Lyra more English words. She learned quickly. "Tree," he said, touching a pine tree. "Tree," Lyra repeated. Her voice made the words sound like a song. "Rock," Ethan said, picking up a stone. "Rock," Lyra said. Then she picked up a different kind of stone. She looked at Ethan, with a question in her silver eyes. "Also rock," Ethan said, smiling. "Different kind." Lyra nodded, understanding. She was starting to see that human language was not as exact as her own. By noon, they reached the spot on the map. It was a small pond surrounded by trees. Part of a tree was broken, and there was a long cut in the ground leading to the pond. "Your ship hit here," Ethan said, pointing to the cut in the ground. Lyra nodded and walked to the pond. She waded into the water without hesitating. The water came up to her waist. She reached down and pulled up something that looked like a silver box with strange writing on it. She smiled at Ethan and pointed to the box, then to herself. This was part of her ship. They spent the next hour searching the area. Lyra found 3 more pieces of her ship. She put them all in Ethan's backpack. As they were getting ready to move to the next spot, Lyra suddenly became very still. Ethan was about to ask what was wrong when he heard it too. A helicopter. It was coming closer. "Hide," he whispered, pulling Lyra under a thick group of bushes. They lay flat on their stomachs as the helicopter flew over them. It circled the pond once, then moved on. "They're following the crash path," Ethan said. They'll be checking all the places where your ship parts landed. Lyra looked worried. She took out the silver box she had found and opened it. Inside was a small screen with moving shapes and lights. She pointed to a light that was blinking fast, then pointed to the sky, then made a cutting motion across her throat. Ethan tried to understand. "Something dangerous is coming?" he asked. Lyra nodded. She drew in the dirt. A shape like a person, but with too many arms. The shape had no face. She pointed to it, then to the sky, then made the cutting motion again. "An alien?" Ethan asked. "A different kind? Dangerous?" Lyra nodded again, her face serious. Ethan thought for a moment. "We need to warn the agents," he said. "Even if they're looking for you, they need to know about this other danger." Lyra shook her head hard. She pointed to the agents, then to herself, then made a cutting motion. She didn't trust the agents not to hurt her. "I won't let them take you," Ethan promised. "But if something dangerous is coming, we need help." Before they could decide what to do, they heard a new sound. It wasn't a helicopter. It was a low humming that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The air felt strange, like before a lightning storm. Lyra's eyes went wide with fear. She grabbed Ethan's arm and started pulling him away from the sound. They ran through the forest, not caring now if they left tracks. Behind them, a shadow moved between the trees. It didn't move like anything on Earth. It flowed like water but was dark as night. It followed their scent, moving faster than they could run. Ethan and Lyra came to a cliff edge. There was no way forward, and the strange shadow was behind them. Lyra took out a small device from her pocket. It looked like a pen but glowed with blue light. The shadow creature came into view. It had no clear shape, just darkness that moved and changed. Long, thin arms reached out from it, too many to count. Lyra pushed a button on her device. A bright light shot out and hit the shadow creature. It made a horrible sound, like metal scraping on metal. Then it backed away, disappearing into the trees. "What was that?" Ethan asked, his voice shaking. Lyra's face was grim. She pointed to the sky, then all around them, then made the cutting motion. The message was clear. More were coming, and they wanted to kill everything. Night fell over the forest. Ethan and Lyra had found an old cabin that hunters used during deer season. It was empty now, with dust on the few pieces of furniture. Ethan closed all the windows and lit a small fire in the fireplace. Lyra sat near the fire, working on the silver box she had found in the pond. She had connected it to her wrist device. Strange lights blinked as she touched different parts. "Can you fix it?" Ethan asked, sitting across from her. Lyra looked up. She was understanding. More English now. "Maybe," she said. Her voice still sounded like music when she spoke. "Need more parts." Ethan nodded. They had found 4 pieces of her ship, but they needed more to make a working communicator. Lyra needed to call her people for help. "Tomorrow we'll look for more," Ethan said. He handed her some jerky from his backpack. "Eat. Rest." Lyra took the food with a small smile. She was not as afraid of him now. She knew he was trying to help her. As they ate, Lyra decided to tell Ethan why she was on Earth. Using simple words and drawings, she explained that she was a commander in the Arcturian fleet. Her people had been watching Earth for years, trying to decide if humans were ready to meet aliens. "Some think humans dangerous," she said. "Others think humans good allies." "Allies against what?" Ethan asked. Lyra drew the shadow creature they had seen earlier. "Voidborn," she said. "They eat worlds." Ethan felt a chill that had nothing to do with the night air. "They're coming here? To Earth?" Lyra nodded slowly. "Scout ships first, then more." Ethan was about to ask another question when Lyra suddenly stood up. Her eyes were wide with fear. "They come," she whispered. Ethan didn't hear anything at first. Then he felt it, a change in the air pressure. The fire flickered, though there was no wind. Lyra grabbed her things and pulled Ethan toward the back door. "Run," she said. "Now." They burst out of the cabin just as something crashed through the front window. In the moonlight, Ethan saw a shape like living darkness, with limbs that moved in ways that shouldn't be possible. Lyra pulled out her light device again, but before she could use it, the creature was gone. It had moved faster than Ethan's eyes could follow. "Where did it go?" Ethan whispered. Lyra didn't answer. She was looking around, her body tense. Then she pushed Ethan hard, sending him stumbling away from her. A second later, the creature dropped from above, landing where Ethan had been standing. Lyra fired her light device. The beam hit the creature, making it shriek and back away, but it didn't run like before. It circled them, looking for another way to attack. "We need help," Ethan said. He pointed to the east. "The government agents are that way. They have weapons." Lyra hesitated, then nodded. They began running through the trees toward where they had last seen the helicopter. The shadow creature followed, staying just out of range of Lyra's light weapon. After running for what felt like hours, they saw lights ahead. It was the government camp. Agents were setting up equipment and putting up tents. Ethan stopped at the edge of the trees. "Stay here," he told Lyra. "I'll talk to them first." Lyra grabbed his arm, her eyes worried. She didn't want him to go alone. "I'll be okay," Ethan said. "They won't hurt me. I'm human." Lyra let go, but she didn't look happy. Ethan walked out of the trees with his hands up. Immediately, lights turned toward him, and agents pointed guns in his direction. "Don't shoot," Ethan called. "I need to talk to whoever's in charge." A woman with short brown hair stepped forward. "I'm Special Agent Olivia Weiss," she said, "and you're trespassing on a government operation." "You're tracking something you don't understand," Ethan said, "and it's not what you think." Olivia's eyes narrowed. "What do you know about it?" Before Ethan could answer, a scream came from one of the tents. An agent stumbled out, falling to the ground. Behind him, the shadow creature flowed out of the tent. In the bright camp lights, it looked even more wrong, a piece of darkness that moved like it was alive. Agents fired their guns at it, but the bullets seemed to pass through it without effect. The creature grabbed the fallen agent with two long arms and began to pull him into its darkness. "Light!" Ethan yelled. "It's afraid of light." Olivia reacted quickly. "Flares!" she ordered. Two agents fired flare guns into the air. The bright red light made the shadow creature pause, but it didn't let go of the agent. Suddenly, a blue beam hit the creature. It screamed and dropped the agent. Lyra stepped out of the trees, her light weapon pointed at the creature. The agents turned their guns toward Lyra. "Don't shoot her!" Ethan shouted, running to stand between Lyra and the agents. "She's trying to help!" The shadow creature recovered and lunged at another agent. Lyra fired again, driving it back. But this time the creature didn't run away. It changed shape, becoming flatter and wider. Then it split into three smaller shadows that moved in different directions. "There's too many," Lyra called out. One of the shadow pieces attacked an agent wrapping around his leg. Another went for the equipment. The third headed straight for Olivia. Ethan grabbed a flare from a nearby box and lit it. He threw it at the shadow attacking the agent. The creature shrieked and let go. Lyra shot her light weapon at the one going for Olivia. It backed away, hissing. Olivia looked at Lyra, then at the shadow creatures. Her face changed as she understood. These weren't the aliens she was looking for. These were something else, something worse. "Everyone grab flares," she ordered her team, "and set up the portable lights. Aim them at those things." The agents quickly set up bright lights and aimed them at the shadow creatures. The combined light drove them back into the trees. When they were gone, Olivia turned to Ethan and Lyra. Her gun was lowered now. "I think you two have some explaining to do," she said. Ethan nodded. "This is Lyra," he said, gesturing to the purple-skinned alien beside him. "She's not your enemy. But those things?" He pointed to where the shadows had disappeared. "They're everyone's enemy." Olivia looked at Lyra for a long moment. Then she made a decision. "Come to my tent," she said. "Tell me everything." As they walked through the camp, agents stared at Lyra. Some looked afraid, others curious. Lyra stayed close to Ethan. not trusting these new humans yet. In Olivia's tent, Ethan explained how he had found Lyra in his trap. Lyra used her improving English to tell Olivia about the Voidborn, the shadow creatures that were hunting her. They followed me, Lyra said, looking guilty. Want to stop me from calling my people? Why? Olivia asked. Arcturians fight Voidborn for a long time, Lyra explained. If humans join us, Voidborn lose. Olivia sat back, taking in this information. So you're saying there's a war in space, and Earth just got dragged into it? Lyra nodded slowly. Sorry, she said. Not mean to bring danger. Ethan put his hand on Lyra's shoulder. It's not your fault, he said. Then he looked at Olivia. We need to help her find the rest of her ship parts. She needs to contact her people. Olivia was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then she nodded. Okay, she said. My team will help, but this stays secret. The world isn't ready to know about aliens yet. For the first time since she crashed on Earth, Lyra felt real hope. With these humans helping her, maybe she could complete her mission after all. And maybe Earth would be a stronger ally than anyone on Arcturus had imagined. The next day, Ethan, Lyra, and Olivia's team searched the forest for more pieces of Lyra's ship. They found 6 more parts hidden in trees, buried in dirt, or floating in small ponds. Each piece made Lyra smile wider. Almost enough, she told Ethan as they walked back to camp. Need one more big part. Ethan looked at the map they had been using. There's only one place we haven't checked, he said, pointing to a meadow near a small mountain. It must be there. Olivia joined them, looking at the map. My team found strange readings from that area yesterday, she said. But we didn't go. Check because of the shadow attack. They decided to go to the meadow the next morning. That night they prepared their weapons and equipment. Lyra worked on putting together the ship parts they had found. Ethan helped her, learning about alien technology as they worked. Your people must be very advanced, Ethan said as he watched Lyra connect 2 pieces that didn't look like they should fit together. Lyra nodded. We travel stars for 1,000 years, she said. Learn much. Will your people help Earth? Ethan asked. Lyra looked at him with her silver eyes. I tell them humans are good, she said. Brave. Kind. She touched Ethan's hand. Like you. Ethan felt his face get warm. He was starting to care about Lyra in a way he hadn't expected. She was an alien from another world, but she was also brave, smart, and beautiful in her strange way. The next morning, they headed to the meadow. Olivia's team carried light weapons and flares to fight off any void-born attacks. Ethan stayed close to Lyra, helping her carry the equipment she needed. The meadow was beautiful, with tall grass and wildflowers. In the center was a large crater where something had crashed hard. Lyra ran to it, excited. Main communication array, she said, pointing to a large silver object half buried in the ground. Can't call home with this. They began digging around. The array, careful not to damage it. It was bigger than Ethan had expected, about the size of a car. The metal was strange, with shifting colors that seemed to move under the surface. As they worked, the sky began to get dark. Ethan looked up, expecting to see storm clouds. Instead, he saw something that made his blood run cold. The darkness wasn't clouds. It was shapes moving across the sky, hundreds of shadow creatures flying toward them. Voidborn, Lyra shouted, pointing up. Many, Olivia quickly organized her team. Set up the light perimeter, she ordered. Form a circle around the crater. The way go. Agents placed powerful lights in a circle, all pointing outward. Lyra had told them that the Voidborn hated certain kinds of light. The government lights were even stronger than Lyra's small weapon. The first wave of Voidborn hit like a storm. They flowed down from the sky, their bodies changing shape as they moved. Some were like snakes, others like giant spiders with too many legs. All were made of the same living darkness. The lights held them back at first. The shadows couldn't cross the bright barrier. But there were so many of them, pressing against the light from all sides. Keep digging, Ethan told Lyra. We need to get that array working. Lyra nodded and went back to work on the communication array. Ethan helped, but he kept looking up at the wall of shadows surrounding them. One of the lights began to flicker. The agents tried to fix it, but before they could, it went out. Immediately, Voidborn poured through the gap, flowing like black water into their circle. "Close the gap," Olivia shouted. She fired flares at the incoming shadows, driving some back. Other agents did the same. 3 shadows got through before they could close the gap again. One went straight for the communication array. Ethan jumped in front of it, swinging a shovel at the creature. The shovel passed through it without effect. The shadow wrapped around Ethan's arm, cold as ice. He yelled in pain as it began to pull him away from the array. Lyra fired her light weapon at the shadow, freeing Ethan. But the other 2 shadows were attacking agents nearby. One agent was down, the shadow covering his face. "We're losing the perimeter," Olivia called. 2 more lights were flickering now. Lyra looked at the communication array, then at Ethan and the agents fighting for their lives. She made a quick decision. "Need help now," she said. She connected the last wire to the array. It hummed to life, lights blinking across its surface. Lyra typed something on a small panel, then stepped back. The array shot a beam of light straight up into the sky. It was so bright that Ethan had to cover his eyes. The Voidborn shrieked as the light passed through their ranks, burning holes in their darkness. "What did you do?" Ethan asked. "Emergency signal," Lyra said. "And this." She pressed another button on the array. The array began to pulse with light, each wave spreading out further than the last. The light wasn't like anything Ethan had seen before. It seemed to pass through solid objects but burned the Voidborn, wherever it touched them. The shadows retreated, moving back beyond the meadow. But they didn't leave. They gathered at the edge of the trees, joining together into one massive shadow. It rose up, forming a shape like a giant person made of darkness. "Voidborn." "Commander," Lyra whispered, her face pale. "Very dangerous." The shadow commander was as tall as the trees. It moved toward them, stepping over the light perimeter as if it wasn't there. "The lights aren't working," an agent shouted. "It's too strong," Lyra said. "Normal light not enough." The shadow commander reached for the communication array. Olivia and her agents fired everything they had at it, but nothing stopped it. Suddenly, Olivia ran to a box of equipment. She pulled out several packages and ran toward the shadow commander. "What is she doing?" Ethan asked, alarmed. "Buying time," Lyra said. She was working frantically on the array, trying to make it do something more. Olivia threw the packages at the shadow commander's feet. "Fire!" she shouted to an agent with a rifle. The agent shot the packages. They exploded in a blinding flash of white light. The shadow commander shrieked and stumbled back, part of its body burning away. "Magnesium and phosphorus," Olivia explained as she ran back to them. "Burns hot and bright." The shadow commander was hurt, but not defeated. It began to reform, growing back the parts that had burned away. Just then, Lyra's communication array made a new sound. A voice came from it, speaking in Lyra's musical language. She answered quickly, her voice urgent. A moment later, the sky lit up with new lights. But these weren't from the Voidborn. These were ships, sleek, silver craft that moved faster than anything on Earth. "My people," Lyra said, smiling at Ethan. "They come." The Arcturian ships fired beams of blue light at the shadow commander. It shrieked and tried to escape, but the beams followed it, cutting through its darkness until nothing remained. The smaller Voidborn scattered, flying up into the sky. The Arcturian ships chased them, destroying many before they could escape. One ship landed in the meadow. It was beautiful, with smooth lines and glowing lights. A door opened and 3 aliens stepped out. They looked like Lyra, with purple skin and silver eyes, but they wore silver uniforms with strange symbols. Lyra ran to them, speaking quickly in their language. The other Arcturians looked at the humans with interest. Ethan and Olivia walked forward slowly. "What happens now?" Ethan asked Lyra. Lyra turned to him with a smile. "Now I introduce first human friends to my people," she said. "Start of alliance." The next few hours were busy as more government officials arrived. They were shocked to see real aliens, but Olivia explained everything that had happened. The Voidborn attack had shown that Earth needed allies in space. Lyra and the other Arcturians set up a proper communication system. They spoke with leaders from Earth about the Voidborn threat. The Arcturians offered to share some of their technology to help Earth defend itself. Voidborn attacked 12 worlds, Lyra told Ethan as they watched humans and Arcturians working together. Not just Earth. They know we might join together. Will we win? Ethan asked. Lyra looked at him with serious eyes. Not easy, she said. But together, we have chance. Later, as the officials continued their talks, Lyra found a moment alone with Ethan by the edge of the meadow. I must go soon, she said. Report to my leaders. Ethan felt a pain in his chest at the thought of her leaving. Will you come back? Lyra smiled and took his hand. Need Earth expert for future missions, she said. Someone who knows how to catch aliens in traps. Ethan laughed. I never thought my wildlife research would lead to this, he said, looking up at the Arcturian ships hovering above them. When I fell in your trap, I thought you eat me, Lyra said, her silver eyes shining with humor. Not no humans eat with hearts, not mouths. Ethan looked at her, confused. What do you mean? Lyra put her hand on his chest, over his heart. You take people in here, she said. Care for them, protect them, different kind of hunger. Ethan understood then. He covered her hand with his own. Will you come back? He asked again. Lyra nodded. Earth is important now, she said. And you important to me. As the sun set over the meadow, humans and aliens worked side by side, preparing for a war that would span the stars. It was just the beginning of a new chapter for both worlds, and it all started because a wildlife researcher caught something unexpected in his trap.